Hello Year 12s and welcome to Mrs. Usher's Flipped Drama Classroom. In the lead up to your exams, we're going to revisit the elements of drama and explore how they work together to create dramatic meaning. Now it's really important that you try to pay attention here because the elements of drama are like the bones or the structure of a good performance. Once we have a good theoretical understanding of the elements, then we'll be able to identify and explore how they work together practically in class. I'd encourage you to take notes as we go and to pause this video as needed to write out any definitions or ideas that you may have. Let's begin. Drama has been around for a very long time. When we explore historical records, we can see evidence of people from all around the world engaged in different times and ways in dramatic action. From ancient Greece to radio plays, television and movies, drama has been used to explore and express emotions, to entertain and to educate. Every form of dramatic activity has a purpose and contains some or all of the elements of drama. Even the spontaneous improvisations that we complete in class are made up a number of these elements. Let's have a look at them now. You might like to pause this video here to draw your own version or to take a photo or screenshot of the depicted diagram. Now let's start at the top with the human context. This includes the situation, the characters, and the relationships. At the heart of our dramatic works are the characters or our roles. Some of the most engaging and powerful performances occur when we forget that the characters we are watching are fictional and are being portrayed by performers. When we take on the role of a character, we are able to explore relationships, and this is central to all dramatic action. We have the relationships between characters, the relationships between characters and ideas, and the relationship between characters and the environment. Where are we? What situation do we find ourselves in, and how do we feel about it? There are three basic aspects of character or role to take into account when developing a performance. These are purpose, status, and attitude. As you develop your role, it is helpful to keep in mind the purpose you have in the drama. Don't forget, this may change based on your interactions, motivations, and relationships. Now, all relationships have an element of power. We call this status. When you consider your role in relation to others, will your role be of a higher, lower, or equal status? What kind of status do you think a bank manager would have in comparison to someone urgently seeking a loan, or a group of bank managers? What about a king versus a servant? Sometimes identifying a status can be really obvious, and sometimes it might be a little bit harder, and we may need to rely on outside factors such as production elements to help us figure it out. Reflect on some of the roles or characters that you have played. What status do you think they had in relation to the others, and how can you identify this? Now, the human context is driven by the dramatic tension, and tension is the force which drives our drama. It is the most important element and is something that must be created in order to intensify the dramatic action and lead to a resolution of tension. Now, don't forget, not all dramas have to end positively or in a manner that completely concludes. Typically, in traditional comedy and tragedy, the dramatic tension builds to a point of climax which allows for a turning point in the action and then a resolution or denouement. Some plays, particularly contemporary works, embrace an anti-climax approach. In these styles, the dramatic tension drains away slowly, and often the audience is left with a sense that life continues well after the conclusion of the performance. When trying to understand the element of tension, it can be helpful to imagine that tension is like an energy. We can manipulate the production elements and special effects to build and harness tension. This can help us to engage with our audiences. In drama, we often use both light and sound to build energy, anticipation, and tension. This can help create a sense of wonder. Space, as in the performance space, the distance between the characters, the audience, and the set, can also influence and shape the dramatic tension. Have a think. How might a crowded stage space filled with props, sets, and characters be used to create tension? How could an empty space occupied by a sole character or a single prop be used? Movement, such as the sudden, rapid actions, big bursts of energy and action followed by stillness, can also be a very effective way of controlling, manipulating, and maintaining tension throughout a performance. Now, the tension and the previously discussed human context is all shaped by the other naturally occurring element, the focus. Focus is used to highlight where the attention is directed. There are three different points of focus. We have focus of the text, which includes the character's dialogue, the action, and the playwright's meaning, the focus of the performer, and the focus of the audience and their engagement. Now we see the elements of focus most clearly through the elements of time and place. This refers to the physical dimensions and locations within the drama. All dramatic action occurs within some point in time and place or space. Usually playwrights carefully select the place where the action will occur. They either use a specific place frame, such as the character's lounge room, or a general place frame. These places are less specific and can often be symbolically represented with production elements. When we look at the element of time, we are discussing the time frames of past, present, and future, because dramas can be located in a number of different times and frames. Time frame past allows us to explore dramatic works, ideas, and characters from different moments in history. Time present is often used in contemporary drama, where we explore experiences, relationships, and situations that are important to us in the here and now. Time future simply refers to time that is set in the future. The way that time is explored and passed within a performance is also very different to everyday life. We can have real time, where time passes on stage in the same way it does in real life. We have selective time, which focuses on the most significant moments of the action and can jump ahead days, weeks, or years. And we also have the option for flexible time. This is typically used in flashbacks. Now, all the elements that we've looked at so far are carefully organised into the narrative. Almost all dramatic works are made up of a narrative or story, and this is expressed through both movement and language. These go hand in hand because language is not just vocal. Dramatic language is shaped by the three factors that we explored earlier: situation, role, and relationships. Can you see how these are all starting to link together? Let's have a look at an example of a situation of how it impacts language. Think about how you talk at home with your family or caregivers versus how you talk in class with your peers, and then how you talk with your friends outside of the school environment. How do you think your language might change based on the situation that you are in? Now consider how role comes into it. How might the language change if you suddenly took on the role of the parent or caregiver, or you were a different student or a friend? Remember how we talked about status? How might that apply and influence the use of language within a relationship? Now don't forget, language is not just about verbal communication. And non-verbal communication is equally as important in creating dramatic meaning, and we can explore this through the element of movement. Drama is made to be seen. It is action. It is movement. And just like the element of language, the element of movement is linked to the human context. It can be used to build tension and direct focus. All of the elements that we have outlined so far work together to create mood and symbols. The mood is the atmosphere or feeling that is created by and emerges through the dramatic action. It is closely linked to the dramatic tension. As the tension builds, so does the mood. And as the mood develops, it strengthens the tension. We can intensify the mood of a scene with a range of production elements, as well as through the narrative and human context. Now, drama is all about making meaning, and this is often done through the use of symbols. We can communicate an idea, make a suggestion, create a mood and tension through the use of symbols. And this can be anything that we give meaning to, such as an object, a colour, a word, or an action. What might a gold ring be symbolic of? Or a skull and crossbones on a black flag? What kind of costume could be used to symbolise the role of a king or that of a doctor? What might the sound effect of a beating heart or the sounds of waves breaking on the beach symbolise? Even the characters within the drama hold significant symbolic meaning. Think about the notion of good versus bad, hero versus villain. When we look at all of these elements and we combine them together, we create dramatic meaning. And when performed, this becomes theatre. This brings us to the end of our video presentation. I hope that this has been helpful and that you have lots of notes and ideas ready for us to explore practically in our next class.